floating around in here. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a minute since I've done a tutorial for a custom, and this one's actually kind of fun. But before we get to that, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, then hit the bell for post notifications so that way you know every single time I post a new video. Some of them are cool, some are not. It just happens that way. There's a rumor of a Jordan Brand and Supreme collaboration for a Jordan 1, and some of the photos that leaked, it showed that this Jordan 1 and Supreme collaboration was inspired by a 2003 Supreme and Nike Dunk SB collaboration. Now they're saying that these are supposed to release in 2021, and when I asked somebody if they thought that these were actually going to release, they said they'll believe it when they see a style code. Don't blame them for that one. Well, I didn't want to wait for 2021. I figured I would try to mimic the red colorway with a custom. Now the Gym Red Low is a perfect base for a lot of customs that I've done. And taking a look at that Supreme and Jordan High collab, this seemed like it was the best candidate for it. You know me, had to go ahead and try to do one of them already. You see we've got the stars on there. I'm not sure what the Jordan 1 High and Supreme tongue is gonna look like, so I went ahead and kind of made my own. I went ahead and blacked out the Jordan Wings logo on the back side, and went ahead and added some black wax laces with gold tips to kind of go with that gold, the gold stars and the gold on the tongue. Now the tricky part on this shoe is the Jordan 1 High and Supreme collaboration shoe is showing that it's actually got like a crocodile or croc-like leather on it, and these, it's just full grain leather. Now my skills aren't to the point to where I can actually deconstruct a shoe in so crocodile leather. Not there yet, eventually. But there is a way to simulate that look of the faux crocodile leather, and you can see some of that right there on the heel. So for this one, we're gonna make a Jordan 1 Low Supreme collaboration, 2021 edition. Now I'm not gonna lie, I'm not painting any other colors on there, I'm not changing the colors, and it looks like a pretty simple custom. A lot of the work is done in the prep area, which requires a lot of stenciling and designing. So to get that Supreme across the tongue, you have to get your measurements right. To get that faux croc leather look, you have to get your measurements right. And so it took a lot of work just putting the stencils together to go through this shoe. So instead of showing you all of that on camera, I went ahead and took care of that beforehand, and I'll show you kind of what it looks like as we go through the process. This video is sponsored by no one, because I have no sponsors, but I do want to thank the guys at Saturdays for blessing me with this dope t-shirt. They just messaged me and said, hey, we sent you something in the mail, you should have got it already. I didn't know that I had it, but I had it and it's here. It's a real comfortable shirt, and it helps me when I take L's on Saturdays. Get it? So make sure that you check those guys out on Twitter. I'll make sure to put their @ right there so you can check them out. After I finish this custom, I will show you close-ups of the details. So
make sure you watch the entire video. Don't let me catch wind of you not watching the whole video.
So to start off this custom, we're gonna pull the laces, and then we're going to use some Angelus Prepare into Glazer to kind of remove that top layer, that factory finish, so that way when we lay our stencil down on this for the faux croc leather look, the stencils will stay a little bit better, and when we spray it, it'll actually adhere to the materials. For the stencils, this is what it looks like. What I've got to do is I have to take transfer tape, pull some of this up, and then apply it to the different panels of the shoe. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take Angelus Matte Finisher, and I'm gonna spray a few layers. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna get in the cracks of the stencil. And so that's it's gonna give you that pattern that you want to make it look like faux croc leather. There's really no specific way for you to lay it, as far as whether it's up and down or sideways. It's completely up to you, but it's important if you're making one of these stencils that you get it to where it's the right measurements as far as thickness, so that way you give it a more realistic look. So we'll go ahead and lay down the stencil, and when I spray this with the matte finisher, I'm actually going to take a heat gun and heat it at the same time, because when you spray that matte finisher, it'll give you a matte finish, but it gives it an even more matte finish when you hit it with heat as you're spraying it. And so for this step of the process, I'm gonna lay the stencil down and then I'll spray the matte finisher with the heat gun. And we'll do that around the entire shoe. And so then when we come back, I'll show you how to lay the stars on. So we've got our faux croc leather effect put down with just the matte finisher. What'll happen is once we're all done with this, we'll hit it with a coat of high gloss finish. You'll see some of those areas really pop. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the stars on the side. And the way that I'm gonna do that is I went ahead and put together a stencil. Now this is iron-on vinyl, and it would be pretty hard to get in the crevices in this area with an iron. So we're actually gonna use that mini iron. And what I'll do is I'll actually take this stencil and I'll put it over top. I'll trace the swoosh, that way I can cut it and then it'll lay down in there nicely. And we'll do that on both sides. After I do that, I'll go ahead and do the tongue. I have my stencil for that ready to go too. You'll notice that there's actually a jump man in the middle. I'm actually not going to use that jump man for the tongue. The only reason why that jump man is still in there is to kind of give me a marker for how to place this on the tongue so that way it's even on both sides. And then we're going to go ahead and de-stress this tongue. And what you'll need for that is just a seam ripper. What we'll do is we'll just go in and rip the seams on this and pull this corner edging off to kind of give it an exposed foam distressed look. By then we'll have everything done. The only thing left will be to put the finishing touch, which will be the insole. I'm gonna do a little customization on the insole, but then we'll be ready to spray it and wrap it up. I'm also gonna remove this 23, and you can actually remove this with the seam ripper, but then you can take an X-Acto knife and you can cut slits on the sides and actually use that as the lace keeper if you want. For the stars, picked up this little guy from Joann's Fabric, and I have meaty claws.
What did you say, punk? Big, meaty claws!
And I didn't realize when I went to press down, I actually pressed the metal here. That's what happens when you burn your skin off. So just be careful when you're at this process, but this is a pretty cool tool.